Now, we'll kind of wrap it up with Leeds United. We do have to give them some congratulations for getting back to the Premier League. They are a massive club as well. I mean, we want the biggest clubs in the Premier League. With all due respect to a Norwich, they do have quality players. They didn't show it this season, but somebody with the prestige of a Leeds United and the rivalry they have with a lot of clubs certainly makes it more interesting. What's your take on Leeds going up, lads? Do you think they'll do well next season? What do you see them doing?
Well, I think it's one big club down with Villa and one big club up with Leeds. Like you said, with them being a massive club, that brings a lot of love and a lot of hate, mainly hate for them from many of the fans. And I think straight away, if they don't do well or don't start off well, there's going to be many people praying that they go straight back down. Do you know what I mean? There's going to be a lot of people who dislike them, almost like a Villa.
Oh, yeah.
They do need to strengthen them. As they've gone up, relatively comfortably in the end, but make no mistake, they will need to strengthen. I'm intrigued to see Calvin Phillips. There's a lot of talk about Calvin Phillips being the best player in the Championship, or at least the best midfielder in the Championship. And there was even talk about people on Sky Sports, TalkSport, in the previous months before lockdown about how he, even though he's never played in the Premier League, he's a better choice for England than the likes of High Winks and Eric Dyer. That's how good people were saying that he was. So I'll leave my judgment out on Calvin Phillips. I'm excited to see how good he really can be, if anything, next season. Like you said, but I haven't watched loads of Leeds United. I'm intrigued to see a big club back in the Prem and see how they get on.
Yeah,
agreed.
I think I think Leeds are going to be a very interesting case next year because they'll have one of the best managers in the league, in Mark Bielsa. So that straight away, that's a positive sign for them. When Newcastle went up a few years ago, I think if we compare the two, because they are similar cases, they had one or two decent players, but they had a lot of dross. But they had a manager who really was, one of the world's leading managers, and when you come up with a manager like that versus coming up with a manager like, I don't know, Daniel Farke or Dean Smith, or these managers that come up this year, I think that there's definitely way in your favour. And what you're saying about Calvin Phillips as well is spot on. He's had an absolutely brilliant season with Leeds. He's a local lad as well, so I doubt he's going to be inclined to leave anytime soon. I think that'll be sort of a similar story to Jack Grealish. But yeah, he's been one of the shining lights in that Leeds squad, and I wouldn't be surprised if he got into the Euros next season, if he can replicate that form in the Premier League, which is never straightforward. The thing with Leeds is that they want to be challenging for Champions League football. The owners actually said that he sees them as a Premier League side. Now they've done that, but realistically he sees them as a Champions League side, and that's the vision. They are a long way from that, so they need to be able to sort of walk before they can run. I think looking at their squad, they need to invest in a couple of centre-halves. I think one of their standout players this year has been Ben White, but he's actually a loan player. So he's not going to be there next season. They've also had to sign, I think it's Kenny Augustine, who's barely played from this year. But they've triggered a loan to buy option on one of their players, Kenny Augustine, and they just don't have him in their plans. So straight away, signing two centre halves, two Premier League quality centre halves, as well as Augustine, is going to chip into their budget. I don't think they'll be able to make Ben White permanent because he is attracting Premier League interest. Personally, I think they're going to struggle. I don't think they're going to have the war chest that they need, especially taking into account COVID. If fans can come back, that'll be mega for Leeds because Elland Road is...
Yeah, it'll be bouncing.
It'll be bouncing, especially to come back to Premier League, if they come back. I think that is a massive if. Without fans, hypothetically speaking, and without a massive budget, I think they'll struggle.
Yeah. I mean, I think they'll have a decent budget. I think the owners will give a bit of something. But then I talked about the Norwich experiment, how there's one extreme to the other, isn't it? It's what Norwich tried to do, and it's what Fulham and Aston Villa tried to do. You need to get that right. If they're going to pump money into it, they have to invest it they have to invest it well. Do you know what I mean? And that's easier said than done. Because you don't disrupt a whole team and just sign like 8 or 9 players. But then they'd be naive to think that 1 or 2 is just going to be enough. You look at like one of their best attacking players this year has been Pablo Hernandez, and he's been very, very good. But he's probably their best, if not one of their best attacking options. And he was in the Premier League a long, long time ago, and almost seemed like he ran his race back then. And he's coming back now. And if you're going to be entering the Premier League, trying to compete and to stay up, and with visions of higher, with Pablo Hernandez as your best attacking option, I think you're in trouble. And that's no disrespect to Pablo Hernandez, but people need to realise, we always say there's levels to this game. And
there is.
You aren't going to make a statement in the Premier League with just someone like Pablo Hernandez, because Premier League defences and Premier League managers, their levels above that.